Buddy. All right. It is Friday evening, and I know this is not usually the best time to do a live broadcast, but what the heck, right? Everybody's stuck at home, and well, someone hops on immediately and says, "You look sickly." Well, maybe it's because I've been stuck inside. No, but realistically, the lighting is terrible, hence why I'm in the truck. So I wanted to hop on here, do a live broadcast. We are talking about the quarantine challenge right now, right? Everybody's looking at weight loss. Everybody's looking at how can we just not gain weight during this time. But the main thing that I wanted to focus on was alternate day fasting. So for those of you that are taking part in this challenge, or those of you that are utilizing the meal plan that I put out, you know that I talk about alternate day fasting. So I want to make sure that well, come on here, do some live broadcasts, get some engagement. Because what the heck else are we going to do on a Friday night when we can't really go out and do much? So apologize for the lighting. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. I wanted to make sure. I literally had to go out into my truck because it's weird lighting right now, plus toddler in the house. It can be very loud, disruptive. So anyhow, sitting in the truck doing this broadcast, and I want to focus on two main things. Okay, the first one is going to be being healthy, right? But the second thing is going to be answering questions, talking about alternate day fasting, talking about what we're experiencing in this challenge so far. So how many people that are watching this broadcast right now are participating in the weight loss challenge that I put forth the other day on the channel? I just want to say, just by show of hands via comment section, whatever you want to do, just say yes, doing the challenge. I know there's going to be a lot of people here that aren't necessarily doing that challenge as well. Okay, cool. Lots of people already. Perfect. Okay, so hopefully everyone's been able to get started, and hopefully everyone's been able to, at least get the process going. And I know that there's going to be questions that come up in time, because this has only been, 2 days, and realistically, by the time the video went out to now, you've probably only been doing it for 1 day, if we're even lucky. So anyhow, I'm going to give you a couple of days to really formulate questions, but I want to make sure that I at least address some of the common things that have been coming up already. The big one that's coming up is the process of alternate day fasting, and why I'm having people do alternate day fasting versus fasting every day. Well, it comes down to the fact that alternate day fasting in this particular case is going to be a little bit easier on our bodies. Okay, we're not trying to get the same effect that we would normally get during a fast. Normally, I'm all about doing an extended fast. Normally, I'm all about doing fasts relatively frequently. But in this particular case, given the situation, I want people to be able to get not only a fat loss benefit, but I want them to keep their immune systems in check, okay? There is clear evidence that if you're doing longer term fasting, it puts stress on your body, which can inhibit what's called the NLRP3 inflammasome from really doing its job effectively. Now, I'm not trying to scare people away from fasting at all. That's not my point. But, and actually, Super Googly, you just did a super chat. I'm literally answering that question right now. So extended fasting can compromise the immune system. Short-term fasting, like 18, 20 hours, not going to be a problem, okay? Especially if you're adjusted to fasting. So let me go ahead and just address the one big thing that's been coming out a lot. If you are currently practicing an intermittent fasting regimen, if you are currently or you're used to fasting, it's not as big of a problem. It's not as big of a concern with compromising your immune system. It's mainly for people that are not fat adapted, that jump into fasting all of a sudden, that could be immunosuppressive. Does that mean you should never fast? No, absolutely. In fact, there's lots of evidence that shows that doing fasts over the long term is really good for your immune system. Really, really good for your immune system. It's just when you are like in the acute stage, when you first are doing a longer fast, it's hard on your body. So that NLRP3 inflammasome, it's the job of that inflammasome to essentially release specific interleukins, like interleukin 1, interleukin 1A. And what these things do is they trigger a massive cytokine storm, a massive inflammatory storm within the body to try to neutralize a virus. We don't want to reduce inflammation too much when we're trying to fight a virus. We actually want inflammation to do its job, but we don't want inflammation to go crazy and have too much of it. So that's where we have to kind of have this balance. So when we look at things like the ketogenic diet, when we look at intermittent fasting, the biggest benefit to them is the fact that they suppress inflammation. They really do. So that means once you are already potentially sick, then sure, it can actually have a very positive effect. But if you're concerned about getting sick, you probably shouldn't be doing fasts longer than 24 hours during this time. Now, that's my opinion based on some research that I've seen that, quite frankly, I have to be honest, the research is done in mouse studies. So you could call total BS on a lot of it if you wanted to, because the studies are done in mice. But the reality is, with longer term accelerated studies, you can't look at influenza virus, you can't look at these things in human models. It's just very difficult. So just bear with me. I didn't do the research. I just interpreted it. So the point here is I recommend alternate day fasting during this period of time. And if you look at the weight loss challenge that I put out on Wednesday, I talk about that. I say, okay, let's do keto, but let's practice an alternate day fasting approach. What that looks like is doing more of a 18 to 20 hour fast one day and then not fasting the next day. Then an 18 to 20 hour fast the next day and then not fasting the next day. So you're literally, just like the words imply, doing an alternate day fasting. And then Johnny Boss says, I've been alternate day fasting for 2 months now and I've had great results. Mentally, there's something powerful about alternate day fasting. I really think that mentally it allows you to just recharge. I like it because I can say, hey, I'm not fasting today. If my calories are a little bit over, it's all good. But then tomorrow I get to fast. And then it's just so easy mentally, okay? Someone asked, does CoQ10 break a fast? Yes, it technically does. Please have CoQ10 during your eating window. Hey, can everyone that's on here please go ahead and hit that like button? Joel Espinoza, thanks for mentioning that. I just appreciate if you can hit that thumbs up button, hit the like button. It does help out a lot and make sure that I can at least get the traction that this video needs. Thank you, everybody. Super appreciate it. So back to the alternate day fasting. So what does that look like? Now, I encourage everyone that's watching this live broadcast to go back and check out the challenge video that I posted because it lays out the full meal plan. So FYI, for those of you that are watching, I laid out a full meal plan that I want people to follow during the time that they're in quarantine and isolation because, quite frankly, we all just need something to follow. We all just need a little bit of guidance, myself included, and it just helps. So after this video, go back and check out Wednesday's video just in my video log. Okay, so back to the alternate day fasting. What I want you to do is on the non-fasting days, don't change anything with your calories. Don't do anything different, okay? Just do what you would normally do with a ketogenic diet or whatever. And then on your fasting day, I want you to fast all the way until around dinner time, close to dinner time. And then you're gonna break your fast as you usually would. And then with your dinner, I want you to have 25% more in the way of protein than you normally would. Okay, this is very, very, very important because we need the extra protein right now for A, our immune system, but B, for gluconeogenesis, so the conversion of that protein into extra glucose when it's needed. What's important to know is extra protein is not going to ruin your ketogenic state. Extra protein is not going to mess you up. In fact, extra protein is going to, as driven by demand, get converted via what's called gluconeogenesis into glucose that needs to be used. Now, why that's important, and I hope that everyone's listening here, is that when you are fighting a virus, okay, a virus demands glucose. And I know that that is very difficult for people that follow a ketogenic diet to wrap their heads around. It was for me at first too. But again, you look at various studies published in the journal Cell, a couple that were published in the journal Cell. Okay, bacterial infections respond really well to starvation. Flu viruses and viruses respond better to glucose. So that means that you don't need to break your ketogenic diet if you're doing keto or anything, but you do need to increase your protein so that if there is a demand, okay, hear me out on this, increase your protein so that if and only if there is a demand for glucose, your body has an easier means to create it because your body will create glucose from protein, operative words, if needed. If needed, okay? So that extra protein is not gonna ruin keto. It's going to give you glucose if you need it. And someone says viruses need sugar to reproduce. That's actually not true, okay? Viruses don't, what they do is they seal phospholipids from the phospholipid process within de novo lipogenesis. So it's not that they use sugar directly. They take fructose that's getting converted into fat and they steal the fat to protect their phospholipid membrane. So they're very interesting creatures. Viruses are weird. Anyhow, I don't want to have this be too much about a virus conversation. I want it to be a little bit more about a fast. So people are still getting the wrong idea. Lilu, I'm not saying eat sugar. I'm not talking about eating sugar. I'm talking about if you consume protein, then the protein can get converted into glucose, and glucose is needed in your body. Okay, glucose is created in your body even if you're not consuming it. Okay, so anyhow, I hope that makes sense to people. Point is, when we're talking about alternate day, and I'm sorry, I know my tone is kind of serious here, but it's very important that people really do grasp this and not misconstrue what I'm saying, because I'm not saying that people need to go off keto. I'm not saying that people need to not fast. I think there's just extra little precautions that we can take. Now, I am not an infectious disease expert. I don't want to do this. I don't want to like talk about the virus. I'm talking purely about what I know about the immune system and what I know about inflammation and what I know about our response to viruses. It's fascinating stuff, but I don't want to be construed as like a medical professional or anything like that. So anyway, back to the alternate day fasting. What I've really focused on was making sure that you're still able to fast, but you're doing so in a controlled fashion. So anyhow, can people go ahead and, if you've got some questions, I know there's been some great things. Someone asked if I could do a veggie meal plan for the challenge. You know, I would love to, but I just don't even have the time to create, well, I just shouldn't say a time, inventory on the channel to be able to create a new video. Jose asked, what's a good collagen brand? I usually recommend Perfect Keto. I do want to introduce something. We've got a good amount of people on this broadcast right now. So if you look in the link in the description below after this broadcast, I don't know if you guys have heard of the app Zero. So Zero is a fasting app. I just got off the phone with Nick, one of the creators of that app, and we talked about how do we get people motivated. So we were thinking, what if we did Mondays as just community fasting days, no matter what? So whether you're doing this challenge, anything, totally love Zero. Awesome to hear that. Guys, not even a link for me to tell you to click. Okay, literally, if you fast, you probably know Zero. FYI, spoiler alert, if you guys love Zero, you're going to love the fact that I teamed up with them and you're going to start seeing me on the Zero app. So now you can never escape, Thomas. Anyhow, so I'll be on that app. So anyhow, cool thing is I was talking with Nick and we're like, hey, what do we think about doing community Monday fast? So who here would be on board with just fasting on Mondays, just as a community, and maybe we can come up with a hashtag for it. Maybe, you know, if you have ideas for a hashtag on the Monday fast, I just think like a quarantine fast would be kind of cool, right? And the reason I say that is just, I don't know, we all need direction. We all need something, right? It's just, all of us are confused right now. We don't know what the heck's going on. We don't know what to believe. We don't know what to, quite frankly, it's frustrating. We're watching our economy go to, tank. We're watching the world economy tank. We're all frustrated, okay? It's just frustrating. So what's one thing that we can at least control together as a team? What's one thing that we can control for ourselves? We can at least control what we put in our bodies. And when we're stuck at home, it is very difficult. I think I ate a pound of pistachios today. Okay, it's so difficult to control. So you almost need to have something set in stone. So let's commence this. Let's do fasting on Mondays. Whether you're doing the challenge or not, let's do fasting on Mondays, and we can just spread it all over Instagram. We can spread it all over YouTube, and we can hopefully get a lot of people doing it so that we can turn this into something healthy. I like that. Hashtag Fast Mondays. That's perfect. Super simple. So anyhow, if you haven't used the Zero app, I recommend you try them down below. But anyhow, so let's go ahead and answer some questions. If it's regarding that meal plan, Orange, you said that's a good question. Can you do a meal plan of what I eat? Monday, I have a video coming out that is like MTV Cribs, except it's Thomas DeLauer's pantry. Okay, I'm at home. I might as well do videos of my pantry, right? So I've got a video literally of this is what's in my pantry right now. So someone says I ate McDonald's today. Forgive me. Okay, I love it. Hashtag Fast Monday. Okay, and we might come up with other hashtags too, but it's going to be cool. Philip says you've changed my life, down 46.2 pounds since January. That is awesome. Okay, I'm glad the audio is working really good too. MTV Cribs my gym. I could do that. So my gym's nothing that impressive. Someone actually, that's a really good question. So I want to go back and address that. If you could cut out all dairy like ghee, eggs, goat cheese, could you replace ghee with mac nut oil? I wouldn't cook with macadamia nut oil, okay? Although I'm trying to get this to scroll back down here. Hang on, there we go. Because it's still somewhat fragile to cook with, it's more of a drizzling oil. Okay, there we go. Isolation, starvation. Oh, that's pretty good. That's a good one. Guys, the whole idea of this broadcast is just to have some community and have some fun. How many hours for the Monday fast? I'm going to say 18-ish is a good number. Shane Moran, day 9 of keto. Awesome, my man. That's really cool. Arlene, yeah, I think let's do 16, 18 hours. A lot of people are saying I've never felt so good since this whole COVID thing. I've heard that. I've heard a number of people say that, and I think it's just because some people are able to get their head in the game and like really just use this as a time to challenge themselves. So I appreciate that. Went to buy mayo. There's no mayo on the shelves. Do I have a recipe? I do. If you literally just type in on YouTube, Thomas DeLauer mayonnaise recipe, I have a really cool healthy mayonnaise recipe. So Nathan says, take a deep breath. We'll wait for you and you won't seem so stressed. It's not that. It's just I've got lots of things popping up in front of me, so I'm always high energy on this stuff. SP says, I've lost 37 pounds since January 2nd. Oh, hang on. did the January challenge for 30 days, and I've been following the keto lifestyle ever since. Thank you, Thomas, for the information and education. You are very welcome, SP. Thank you, my man. I'm an athlete, thought I would try keto. I was hesitant. I'm back on the clean carbs only at dinner during quarantine. I totally understand that. I think that what I would recommend is if you're going to go back on carbs on your fasting day. Okay, so it might look something like you do your regular keto day, and then you have your fast, and then at the end of your fast, you break your fast with something strategic, and then you add your carbs with dinner. Sarah, I would not recommend grapeseed oil. Grapeseed oil is actually a very someone says my neighbors aren't socially isolating. Yeah, they did just go by, huh? I will say in California, like, nothing's even different. Like, there's more people on the road. It's kind of disappointing. There's more people out driving around because they're not at work and they have nothing to do, so they're just driving around. My office, which is my gym, is like a half mile down the road, and when I go there, I see all these. Anyhow, point is, what products do I recommend during keto? I have a lot of videos on that. Right now, basic pantry staples, sardines, things like that you can get your hands on. Normally, I'd have other topics for that. Vegas is crazy right now. I know it's super. That's what I've heard. What's my opinion on goat and other alternative dairy products? Goat cheese is my jam. I absolutely recommend goat cheese. And the nice thing is there's a lot of it on the shelf right now. It's so funny. I went to the store a couple days ago to stock up and saw goat cheese there's just a ton of it. Like, it's like people aren't grabbing goat cheese, probably because it's an interesting taste, but I would recommend that during this keto plan. Apple cider vinegar, yes, I talked about that in the video as well. So I highly recommend having ACV with every meal in this case. Tammy says, I'm a fast reader. I have to like caffeinate up before I do this because the stuff comes in so fast. So anyhow, I would definitely say just generally, I don't know, if people ask about macadamia, see, it's easy for me to lose my train of thought. Sorry. Hang on 1 second, guys. Bear with me. There we go. Okay, sorry, I thought it was disconnecting. So jumping back to the apple cider vinegar for a second, when you're stuck at home, I do recommend the apple cider vinegar with each meal, okay? But have it with a little bit of water so you're not hurting your teeth. The reason I say that is A, for digestive purposes, but B, for blood sugar purposes, okay? That's really, really important because right now when you're stuck at home, you have to kind of override this extra dopamine response that's in your brain that just wants you to eat more. So goat milk, I wouldn't really necessarily recommend goat milk because it's still going to have high amount of carbs in it. So, hey, can everyone that's watching this, please, if you know where it is, could you hit that thumbs up button? That would just help out a lot, just that like button. Thank you guys very much, just because it gets this ranking a little bit more. Right now, it's tough. So just to give you some insight into how YouTube kind of works, during this quarantine isolation thing, there's not a lot of weight loss content out there, right? That people are wanting to watch, and rightfully so. People's heads just aren't in that game. So what's happening is YouTube isn't ranking channels that have weight loss content very high because most people are just wanting to watch news reporting and things like that. So what that means is that hurts our subscribers. That hurts the people that want to see our content because YouTube naturally isn't going to serve it to them. So I just need as much help from you guys as I possibly can get in terms of sharing content, liking the content, because we're battling that. We're battling automatic algorithms, much like the stock market. Jackie says, fell off the wagon with sweets and alcohol. What's the best way to get back on track? Best way to get back on track is not to do anything radical, but to just get right back on that horse, okay? ACV capsules, Richard, I would not recommend them. You're not going to get as much benefit out of it. At-home HIIT workout, I do have a couple on my channel you could search for. How do I know if my body needs glucose for workouts when I'm fasting with high protein? There's a very good chance you probably don't need it. You're not going to really know per se, but I do think that if your protein is high enough, your body's going to be able to draw glucose when it needs it. Additionally, over time, your protein levels that accumulate will allow glucose to accumulate in the way of glycogen, therefore giving you those energy stores that you need. So my recommendation would be to continue to keep that protein high and don't try to add glucose unless you absolutely need to. Thank you all for the super chats and for the kind words too. I appreciate that. How many days of fasting get back into ketosis? CJ, that largely depends on how fat adapted you are. Just as a matter of reference, for an extreme example, I've been doing keto for close to 10 years. I can have a bowl of rice if I wanted to, and I would probably be back in keto in about 16 hours. Okay, so my body gets back really quick, whereas someone that is not as keto adapted or fat adapted, it might take them 2 days, right? So it all depends. You have to kind of test yourself and find out. Also, FYI, guys, I know that you guys are, not everyone here is doing that meal plan challenge that I laid out, but just a quick reminder for people that have hopped on. After you watch my live broadcast here, the reason I'm doing this is because it was a whole, weight loss challenge. I wanted to get people motivated and do a Q&A with it. Wednesday, I posted the full meal plan. So the meal plan's there in a whiteboard video, a downloadable option, so you can literally download the PDF if you don't want to go watch the whole video, but I recommend you do. And then also within there, I put a link down below, just literally in this description, Fat Snacks, which is the keto cookie company. They sponsor the whole challenge because right now it was really tough. I had to shuffle a lot of videos because some of the brands that I was doing videos with needed to push back because of inventory issues. So Fat Snacks actually jumped in and was like, hey, we'll get behind this challenge. Like, we'll do it. So they put together a special link, and I put it down below for a bundle of the keto cookies that you can get through Fat Snacks that I actually intertwined into the diet plan for that reason. So you guys are all set. So anyhow, special link down below. You guys can use those. Awesome. Johnny says he's got his Fat Snacks. Joe got his Fat Snacks. Very, very cool. Excuse me, I have to cough. No, I don't have COVID. I'm just talking fast. Okay, lots of big questions coming in here. Thoughts on bitter herb? I can't really comment on that, to be completely honest. Chomps are awesome. Yes, I put Chomps in the meal plan too. Hang on, here's a good question. Mahalo, Thomas. From January 6th, I was 293. Now today I'm 50 pounds. No exercise yet, just keto, IF, and OMAD. Much love to you from Paradise. What about those keto ice creams? Well, what about those keto ice creams? Hang on. I can tell you the keto ice creams. Hang on one second. Okay. The keto ice creams, you kind of have to be careful, to be completely honest, because a lot of them are just full of erythritol and sugar alcohols. I would typically say that my favorite is going to be Rebel Creamery. And people are asking about ButcherBox. FYI, ButcherBox has had to go to a waiting list. I know it's wild, but they've had to go to waiting lists because so many people wipe them out during this time. Hang on, I got to tilt my phone back up. Yeah, Rebel ice cream is a lot better. I like it just because it's, I don't know, it's just darn good. Can you alternate dry and water fasting in a 72-hour period? You can. My suggestion would be right now not to do that. I would not recommend that just because it can put a lot of stress on your body. Remember, fasting elicits stress on the body, but it's all about doing long-term, like a long-term adaptation, right? You're trying to get your body to adapt over the long term. So in the short term, when you're fasting, you're eliciting a lot of stress on your body. And I don't recommend that people are doing extended fasts or dry fasts or anything right now, okay? Anthony says, I've lost 80 pounds and now to stall, 10 days with working out 4 days a week. What I would recommend first is take a couple days of just stripping the fats down, okay? Definitely, that's the first thing I usually say. If you hit a plateau, try reducing the fats for a few days, and usually it kickstarts the process because you got to get your body to activate what's called PPAR alpha, which is a special receptor protein that allows the lipid mobilization to occur. Okay, so, well, actually, it's vice versa. PPAR alpha is a genetic process, so what ends up happening is when you are mobilizing lipids, PPAR alpha ends up upregulating. So if you deprive yourself of dietary fats for a little bit, let me back up to make some sense of this, because otherwise I'm going to ramble. When you're on keto, you're giving yourself a lot of fats, okay? So you're giving yourself so many dietary fats that your body doesn't have the chance to really tap into its stored fat unless you have a period of time in which you're not eating, right? Well, if you get your body adapted to using a lot of fats and then you take a period of time where you strip the fats away minimally, well, guess what? Your body starts mobilizing fat from your stored tissue, which elevates PPAR alpha, which has a whole bunch of different downstream processes with uncoupling proteins and other fatty acid oxidation properties and all kinds of different thermogenic effects. It's quite honestly very badass. Like, so if you just deprive yourself of fats for like a couple days on keto, then all of a sudden, boom, I know I totally should have some water with me. I literally was thinking that when I pulled the headphones out to cough. I'm like, dang it, I forgot water. Anyhow. So Richard, you've asked a couple of times, is fasting good for people with diabetes? Yes, but I'm not a doctor, so I have to say that loosely, okay? I absolutely do think that people with type 2 diabetes can have some serious benefit from doing shorter term fasts, but I'm not a doctor. I encourage you to watch some of the content that I've done on keto and fasting surrounding diabetes. Do I have any info? Sorry, another question. Am I against drinking with like vodka and things like that? I'm not against it, but I do recommend that you really keep it in moderation and don't do it on fasting days. Sorry, there's some really good questions coming in. Patty, or if you're breastfeeding, okay, let's save that question. When I hail anything vinegar, I cough violently. Yeah, you could just be very, very sensitive to it. Love your work. Today I'm on my 5th day of a full fast and feel great. When should I stop? What signals shall I be aware of? Okay, full disclaimer, guys, I'm not a doctor, so I have to be careful even answering this. I would say if you feel a sudden sense of extreme tiredness, okay? So similar to when you get the flu, like you hit a wall, okay? Now again, full disclaimer, I'm not a doctor, so everyone that's watching right now know that this is not medical advice. I'm not trying to talk about symptoms of COVID or anything like that. I'm just saying, from fasting and my relationship with the flu and what I've experienced, if you end up feeling like you just hit a wall really hard, that is a very clear indicator that the NLRP3 inflammasome is activating, okay? And I'm gonna explain what this looks like in a second too, okay? At that point, you should break your fast, but you still need to do so strategically, because for someone that's been on a longer fast, like beyond 2 days, when you break your fast, it's going to trigger inflammation too. Okay, so you just don't, because all of a sudden you're bringing a bunch of food into your system. It activates what's called PKR protein, which is a specific protein that's actually an antiviral protein in the first place. Point is, a little bit of protein, ease into it, and then have some carbohydrates, even if you're a keto person, okay? Let's talk really quick on what this looks like as far as the NLRP3 inflammasome is concerned. And I know this is going to be somewhat complicated. Can everyone please promise me that unless you absolutely have to jump off, please listen to what I have to say in its entirety right now. If you don't listen to the full piece of it, it's not going to make sense and you're going to be left confused, okay, period. Because I almost quit reading these research papers until I actually stuck with it. So please promise me this. What it looks like when a virus enters your body is very similar to what it would look like if a terrorist were to enter your country. The first line of defense is going to be first stage of attack, okay? The second line of defense, which is the most important piece, is assembling the actual neutralization of that threat. So when a virus comes in your body recognizes that there's something that shouldn't be there, okay? So that virus shouldn't be there or pathogen shouldn't be there. Your immune system, or NLRP3 inflammasome, elevates. And what happens is T cells begin to form what they're supposed to do. But T cells take a while to figure out what they need to do. But when they do figure out what they need to do, they're very effective at it. I like to consider them almost like a sniper, right? They have the ability to just neutralize a threat and be very, very specific about it, okay? Now, because it takes a long time for that T cell to assemble, your body has to be able to neutralize the threat the best that it can in the meantime. So it triggers a bunch of different inflammatory cytokines and a bunch of different processes to attack the pathogen until the sniper has time. Okay? So what that means is right when a virus enters your body, you have a huge surge of inflammation that is supposed to be there. And if that inflammation isn't able to be produced, then the virus can overrun you, and that's how you can get immunocompromised and sick, okay? Then basically what happens then is the T cell does its job to try to neutralize the threat. But viruses are unique because they enter the cell, okay? They penetrate the cell and they go into what's called the endoplasmic reticulum of the cell. And when they're in the endoplasmic reticulum, they cause all kind of stress, and they trigger the different folding and unfolding of proteins that actually can trigger a cell to become decrepit. This is what makes the virus very interesting. But where fasting and keto can come in handy is they increase what is called gamma delta T cells, which is a specific secondary T that is normally involved in tumor prevention. Okay, so the cool thing is these gamma delta T cells, they order the cell that has been infected to self-destruct. Okay, they order the cell that has been infected to die. And that, in effect, stops the virus from spreading, because viruses are RNA DNA dependent. They have to bind, they have to enter a cell before they can replicate, before they can multiply. So if we neutralize the cell and kill the cell, then the virus dies too. And that's what gets interesting, because when a virus invades a lot of tissue, it can cause a lot of problems. So everything that I'm trying to say here is that although the ketogenic diet and fasting can lessen inflammation to potentially make you more susceptible to a virus, it washes out, because as you're actually infected, the ketogenic diet increases these specific cells, or these specific T cells, that actually can help get rid of it faster. So the point is, if you're already doing keto, you don't need to change things. People, they look at the science in the preliminary sense and they say, oh, viruses need glucose, or you need glucose to kill viruses, I'm going to jump off of keto. that you could do if you're already in keto. If you're already keto adapted, don't change anything, but just don't add stress to your body. So I know that this is very, very deep stuff and it's hard to explain in a couple of minutes. I literally did a full video on it that's going to go out next week. That's more like 10, 15 minutes that explains it. But the point is that our body is much like a military response. And if we just remember, like, too much of a military response is a bad thing. A military response on your home turf is not necessarily a good thing. Okay, just remember that, and that's the simplest way to really understand how your immune system is working. Hey, everyone, can we please go ahead and get a thumbs up and just like hit that like button? So another good question that just came in. Thank you. Whoa, hang on, wrong button. Thank you, Thomas. Been following you for months. I've lost 20 pounds. That's awesome, Richard. Thank you so much, man. Hang on, guys. Bear with me on this. Should I fast long-term with working out 6 times a week and trying to burn fat? Every other day, just like I was saying. Hey, thank you, Hoodie. Thanks for all the kind words. Love and fresh keto bread from Costco. You know, I saw it in my last Costco video, but I didn't have time to jump over there because there was a big crowd of people, so I want to check it out. Awesome. Someone said they're following the meal plan to the letter. So F the haters. You know, to be honest, the haters were in full force for a little while, but then they seemed to kind of die out. I think they were just angry at this whole thing that's going on, and I don't know. I think it's sometimes you can't help but in like an industry like this to sometimes take it personal, right? Like my brand is me. So when someone on the internet is, you know, bashing my brand or whatever, they forget that I'm a person, right? They're not trying to harm me, but I still can't help but perceive it and take it and internalize it. So sometimes it can be really, really hard. And there's days where I really could just use talking to somebody, right? Like it's just like, it can get really, really rough. And and it makes it tough because I want to be able to read all the comments, but sometimes I have sort of a Pavlovian stimulus response to avoid the comments because I don't want to see that negative stuff. Anyhow, so I know Darius says some people hate success. I think that's what it is. I think my channel's grown, a lot of visibility. Anyhow, do I still recommend Mediterranean keto? 100%. The only reason that I am not necessarily recommending Mediterranean keto right now is because it's hard for people to get good fresh food right now. And I usually recommend fresh fish. I recommend fresh lean poultry, you know, when you're talking about that. So I totally understand that people can't get that stuff. So if you have the means to be able to get that stuff right now, please, by all means. Big Worm says, haters, at least they add to the algorithm. You absolutely are right. FYI, cool video coming out tomorrow. Again, I'm just chilling out, right? Like I just want to be able to chat with you guys and have some fun. I'm bored just like you all are. Tomorrow will be a fun video that comes out. So make sure you set your reminders. It's going to come out at 10 a.m. Pacific. It's going to be 15 ways to not get fat when you're stuck at home. It's like 15 kind of unique ways, just different little things that you can implement to not get fat while you're stuck at home. Because I've seen so many people saying, I've already gained 3 pounds, I've already gained 4 pounds. CJ says, can you do a video showing what your normal day of eating looks like? I have a fun 2-part day in the life intermittent fasting video coming out in about a month. So make sure you keep your eyes open for that. It's literally part 1 is the fasting portion and part 2 is breaking the fast and beyond. I want to do more of these vlog style things. I want to do more, but it's been so off brand for me. Usually my brand is very authoritative. It's much more in the way of like, you know, dishing out information in authoritative sense. So for me to jump forward and all of a sudden do these vlog style things, it's so different. It's so different and it feels weird. And a lot of people that are kind of the veterans of watching my channel get turned off by it. It's like, I don't want to watch you do this selfie style stuff. I want to see like the typical kind of content you do. So I don't know. I guess I have to balance it. Would love to see what my wife eats in a day. Well, it's very, very similar to what I eat, although she is almost 9 months pregnant. So, which we're concerned about right now, hoping that she can just hold it for a little bit until this all blows over. Love your channel, OMAD and hitting Mac. Do I have any tips for OMAD? You know, if you can get over, and this is going to sound bad, but I don't mean it directly like this. With OMAD, sometimes, it's easy to have an ego and not want to have you want to have it all consolidated into one meal. I recommend just saying, hey, have one little meal when you break your fast, okay? And then after that, then go ahead and add your extra foods and make it 2MAD instead of OMAD, and you'll be a lot better off. Sorry, I just had a good super chat that came in. Hitting plateau, how low to drop fats? Kesha, good question. I would drop your fats 50% from what you normally do and increase your protein 25%. Okay, so drop your fats 50%, increase your protein 25%. You're gonna be in a little bit of a caloric deficit, but it's only for a couple of days, and see how it ends up feeling, okay? If you watch my little self-experiment, where I did my low protein or low fat, high protein for like 3 weeks. It was pretty interesting. And I wanted to continue on with that, but then all this kind of stuff happened. Um, any tips on avoiding, sorry, have you tried pure licorice as a sugar substitute? I actually haven't. I've heard a couple people mention that. Um, have you tried using the new, yes, I have. I have used the new Keto Mojo GKI meter. It's really awesome. In fact, I've got a video coming out. It was going to be in June, but they had to push it back. So a lot of what's happened is, I have content that's been created with partner brands. But sometimes when I post videos, they get a lot of traffic and a lot of sales. And even if it's just a casual mention, so a lot of times, so brands that know that they have a mention in a video have asked me to push them back because they're dealing with shipping issues and strange lead times right now. So it's kind of thrown a wrench in some of my content. But anyhow, the point is the Keto Mojo video talking about GKI comes out this summer, where I'll talk a little bit more about that meter. Cucumbers, sorry, so many good questions. No, don't worry about, Kelly, not too much protein because it triggers insulin. No, you're going to be okay. Here's the thing. Yes, protein triggers insulin, but as long as you're not munching on it all day and you're having it just in your consolidated periods, it's fine, because you're having an insulin spike when you're eating anyway. You might as well have it come from protein, because remember, 20% of the protein that you are digesting ends up, or 20% of the calories from the protein ends up getting utilized just straight up in the digestion. So 20% of the calories you eat from protein literally is just involved in digestion itself. My wife said you should have bracelets that say, "What would TD do?" That's awesome when you're grocery shopping. Guys, I better go ahead and hop off here. You guys are super awesome. If you guys want me to do more of these Q&As, just keep asking for them. We've got to make sure that we get enough people on here doing them, and that there's good feedback, because obviously it's very important that everybody's happy. Someone did just ask how Amber's doing. Let me just give you a little feedback into kind of our daily life. Amber is just about 9 months pregnant, and we are a little bit concerned with what's happening here in the hospitals, right? Like, they're talking now about, which is really scary, the CDC just put out today, this is really just going to break my heart and break Amber's heart. They're talking about separating, sorry, someone just said something. The world is scared and you're worried about losing weight. Okay. Anyhow, really concerned because the CDC said that they're going to start potentially separating babies, newborns, from their moms at birth to stop the spread of COVID. That was posted up by the CDC, which would just be terrible, because anyone that's a parent knows how important that is. So yeah, we're actually potentially looking at deliveries at home, because like that, we're not going to deal with that. And they're saying up to 2 weeks. So that's what the CDC says. Oh, it's like, yeah. So separating babies from their moms at birth for up to 2 weeks to stop the spread of COVID. And most of the hospitals around here are already starting to not allow partners in for delivery. So it looks like there's a good chance I won't be able to be there either way. So I'm telling Amber, I'm like, our due date's May 5th. I'm like, just hold her in, Amber, hold her in, do what you can. Hopefully we can get through this. So we're thinking about going up. We've got some family up in Carmel, up in the Monterey area, and it's much less population dense. So we're thinking about, well, maybe we should go up there. We have a better chance, because like down here in SoCal in the LA area, it's just so bureaucratic, and they'll just, like, the hospitals will just, they're just going to say, okay, LA, boom, you're shut down. This, at least if we get up north a little bit more where it's quieter, might have a little bit more flexibility. So anyhow, I'm just keeping you guys apprised because someone asked. I'm not complaining. I'm not playing victim or anything like that. I'm just explaining the situation. We're all dealing with different stresses. It's just like, that's so frustrating. And my heart just goes out so much to Amber and any mom that's dealing with this right now. By the way, one quick thing to end on. Man, woman, whoever, I don't care. I have to say this. Those stay-at-home moms and dads, holy cow. Mad respect, because I see what my wife is going through with this 2-year-old. I can't get an email out. I can't get the most, like, just basic remedial email out because he's just, so anyhow, so much mad respect for you parents that stay at home. And it's not, you guys deserve a massive salary for what you guys do. Anyhow, I just have to say, I love you guys. You guys are awesome. Enjoy your weekend. I'll see you soon. And don't forget tomorrow's video. Don't forget to check out Fat Snacks and get your bundle there. And also don't forget to please download the Zero app. And last but not least, Mondays, let's community fast together. Everyone, let me get a big hashtag Fast Monday, and let's end this sucker. I'll see you soon. Hang on.